Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. This is your host, Emmett Muckles, and we're doing it again. Of course, I got the wrong hat on, but it doesn't matter. I'm just, covering up my hole in my afro. But today, my guest is Jacqui Letran, and she is a multiple award-winning author, international speaker, and most of all, this is where we're going to get down to the brass taxes. She is a mindset mentor. And we know today we need some help with our mindset because it's not right. But she also helps with the bully within, like her podcast. How you doing, Jacqui?
Hey, I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Oh, no. Thank you for being available. That's why I do the Billionaire Lifestyle, because I want to, actually, it's kind of a selfish reason. I want to talk to you. I want people to drop that science on me, and then I can share it with the world. So, hey, all's fair in love and war, right?
Well, I am here. Ask away. I will share whatever I know.
All right. Yeah, we got some great levels here now. So let's dive backwards. I always go backwards. And here's the biggest thing going backwards is the fact that what I want to do is, where did you start? You don't just come to a conclusion as an adult about something. There's something that happens in your life and something triggers. It may take a while, but it comes to the forefront. So where'd you grow up? What was your mindset when you were a teenager? How's your family? What city did you grow up in? Give me all that stuff. This is the Billionaire Lifestyle. We're family.
Okay, well, family, I was born and raised in Vietnam, and I was there until I was 8 years old. At 9, we immigrated to the United States, and that was a life changer in so many ways. And in the beginning, it was perfect. I'm in America. I have all these opportunities. Everything was wonderful and new and fun and exciting. And then I hit my preteen years, maybe around 12, right around 12, 13.
Yeah.
Where everything shook up again, but this time for the worse. I come from a very strict Vietnamese family, and my mom, all she wanted from us was total obedience. And right?
And was she like 5 foot tall?
5'1", but you don't mess with her. Right. But yeah, total obedience. I mean, like, what teenager would want to do that, right? But,
yeah, well, that was part of the old school, the discipline, especially. And I think it really came out of colonization, and it just became a staple across the world because I was there too.
It wasn't fun.
No, it wasn't. It sucked, but we laugh about it now. Well, yes. At least I do because, I had some moments, but continue on.
Yeah. So besides the total obedience, all she wanted us to focus on was education. So my life was education and total obedience. And at 12, 13, all my friends are starting to do more fun things. They're going out, they're wearing makeup, they have designer clothes, they're dating. None of those were available for me. None of those were options for me. And even though I was not abused or, traumatized like so many teens, that made me felt very different and very alone. And basically, it felt like all my friends left me overnight, and it felt like nobody understood me. My friends didn't understand me. My parents didn't understand me. And I was struggling to deal with all these changes by myself. And all the while, wishing I was more like my Caucasian friends, right? With the rights and the fun and the stuff. And
at least you got the hair, though.
I did not like my hair back then. And maybe I don't like it that much now because it's purple and pink and every color but my natural color.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So you went through some traumatic times because, we carry that, all the trauma. And I've recently discovered this, all the trauma that our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and forefathers suffered, we carry in our DNA. And if we suffer with some drama in our current life, then it carries over and compounds to a degree. Do you think, it was generational, what you were experiencing? Your mom experienced that as well?
It's generational, and that is the mindset that was being passed on, right? My mother lived in fear. I mean, in Vietnam, then there were communists, and with communism, you have no rights. At any given time, somebody can walk into your house and take the house over. They can take your things. They can jail you. They can kill you.
That's
and so
socialism, right? I mean, like everything was everybody's, right?
Everything was the communists. It wasn't everybody, right? Everybody or everything was demands, right?
Yeah.
And that includes you as a human. And so my mother and, her parents lived in fear. And so the fear definitely got passed on. But the struggle that I had with as a teen wasn't necessarily about the fear. It's about fitting in. I mean, like even in America today, that is one of the biggest drive that teenagers have, is to have a sense of belonging.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. No matter when you came up, even today and yesterday, going back to probably my mom's time, it was the same thing.
Right. We just all want to belong. And, I look different. I sound different. I didn't have the stuff. I couldn't do the stuff. So, again, I felt completely inferior, and that turned into depression, and it turned into risk-taking behaviors. And at that time, the way that I expressed my depression wasn't withdrawal. I exploded. I mean, I became a very angry person. And you laugh. It wasn't fun.
I've had those friends, they were cool with me, but then there was some strife when they got home. By the way, I adjusted you so you can relax some now.
Yay.
Yeah, I really did. So it sounds great. But, when they were with their peers, it was a totally different person. Then you go to the home and it's like chaos. So I understand that mindset and that rebellion mindset that you were talking about. So we understand some of the things that you were going through, and you said you were like, you turn green and start Hulk smash.
I did a lot of Hulk smashing.
So how did that I mean, you were at probably 13, 14, and, you get to be of age where you're legally of age. So 18, 19, 20. What was that transition like?
Well, before we go into that age group, I'm going to take you to 16. So at 16, my life went downhill tremendously. I was incredibly depressed. I was suicidal. I really felt like there was nothing to life. Life was pointless. And then I had my son.
Oh.
Yes. And the moment I had my son and held him for the first time and look into his eyes and, have him wrap his whole hand around my finger, everything changed in that instant. I mean, something magical happened within me that I didn't understand at that moment. But looking back, that was my most pivotal moment in my life, because in that moment, I wanted to be that person who is completely worthy of this little boy's love.
How old were you when your son came into this plane?
I had him, and then I turned 17 a day and a month later.
Wow. That's a struggle within itself, particularly because you come from an Asian family. In America, there's a lot of expectations. What was that process like with your family, you having a child at a young age in this day and age? Because historically, the first child was born at about 13 or 14 with a woman. But, as we got comfortable, it changed the scope. So it's not unnatural, it's just unnatural for this age in the mindset, I'm using your words, of adults.
And I hope that mindset, that trend continues, that we don't expect little girls to birth babies. But, for me, my journey was shameful. I mean, that would encompass it all, because In my culture, you didn't shame just yourself. You didn't shame just your parents. You shamed your whole ancestry.
Yeah.
I mean, boy, that's a lot of weight on your shoulder, right? Being told, right? Being told all the time that, your whole lineage is turning over in their graves because of your actions.
That's got to be, that's got to weigh heavy on a young person because you haven't hit your third seven, as I call it, which is like the 21 years of age when you're starting to figure, you've kind of got the basics of being an adult, and you're still kind of a child yourself, particularly in this day and age where everything is available. So what was your shift? I know there's nothing like a mother's love, so all your focus is there on this being that you brought to the planet. So what transpired after that?
So from that moment on, I made the decision that I was going to earn this boy's love, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that he doesn't go through what I went through. The whole feeling different, feeling isolated, feeling alone, living in poverty. All of those things are things I did not want for my son. And so when I got pregnant, I dropped out of high school. So I finished, I want to say the first quarter of 10th grade. And so I I got my GED and enrolled in college and just kept going to school. The whole time I wanted to learn, I wanted to better myself, I wanted to provide for my son. And as I'm doing the academic learning, I'm also doing the self-development learning. I'm reading everything I can get my hand on, all the self-help books, and, trying to figure out how to go from I hate myself to you're kind of okay to I love myself.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, if you've listened to the Billionaire Lifestyle podcast, that's one of the core values that I expound every show. It is so important for you to love yourself first, because if not, then you're getting this outside love that can sometimes be detrimental to your being, and it doesn't give you any value. So you went through this process and you found your core. You started to find your place within yourself. So what transpired? How did you go to writing books and working with teenagers? And let me just ask it this way. What is a mindset mentor?
So for me, a mindset mentor is just somebody who helps people understand how their mind works and how to take control of their thoughts and feelings. A lot of what I do is to help people reframe their experiences and dig to find the lessons within those painful experiences, because regardless of how painful, how unpleasant that experience might be, there's always a lesson, there's always a gift. And if you can find that, the problem just disappear and more strength within yourself, and you can move forward so much easier.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that we have a lot of latent baggage, so to speak, that we're not dealing with, as adults, and sometimes it doesn't even manifest till very late in life, your late 30s, 40s, 50s, and it manifests in relationships. And you work a lot with teens. How did that come to me? How did you pivot in your own life to say, this is where I need to be? Did God have a thing for you and say, you really need to be working with teens? You wake you up one night, go, and you're like, what? You're like, teens need your help. And you're like, okay, I'm going back to sleep.
Well, that actually happened, but that was the second phase of my working with teens. I'll tell you about that in a minute.
What was the first phase?
The first phase was my own journey into adolescent and into adulthood. And it was just the lack of resources. Like when I first became sexually active, excuse me, when I first became sexually active, I knew I did not want to get pregnant. I knew the risk of pregnancy was there. And I took myself to, a family planning clinic 3 times to get on birth control. The first 2 times I chickened out. It was so scary. I mean, being a teen, doing a shameful act, right?
Yeah.
You're scared out of your mind. And then you walk into these clinics and you have these people with their arm folded across their chest and with this scowling look in their face. Well, for me, it was terrifying. So I left twice. The third time I told myself, I'm going to stay. I don't care how scared I am. I need to get on birth control because I cannot get pregnant. And so I'm going to totally date myself here, but way back when, before you get on birth control, they require that you have a pap smear. And so you haven't gone through one. I'll describe it.
No, I don't want to feel a little pressure. No.
But I'll describe the whole process of what happened. It's actually quite traumatizing. It's so funny to me now, but this is something that should never happen to anybody. So I'm up on the stirrup, naked from waist down with this very thin paper covering my waist for modesty, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm terrified. My legs is up in the stirrup. I'm naked from waist down. The male doctor walked in, grabbed my chart, took a look at it, leafed through it a little bit, took the chart, slapped my ass.
What?
And said, get dressed. You don't need birth control. You're pregnant.
Whoa. Back the truck up.
What?
Wait a minute. You said he slapped you on the rear.
On my buttock. Yes.
It's very rare that I'm speechless. I mean, a teenager.
Imagine being that teenager, right? On that table, being as incredibly vulnerable already and so scared. And I was doing everything I can to prevent this specific thing, the thing I fear the most. And here it is. And the way it was delivered to me was incredibly cruel. And there was just nothing human about that interaction.
So, I understand this. You said it was 3 occurrences it took you to really go through with it. And one of the things that came to mind when you said that was I could almost feel what you were thinking, like somebody's going to see me going in here. Someone's going to know what I'm doing. Someone's going to know that I'm sexually active or perceive that I'm sexually active. I can understand that's a whole different level of shame internally that you had to process. How did you pull that out so that others could benefit? How did you pull from that experience so that other teens can move forward a lot easier?
So from that experience and other experiences during my pregnancy, that was equally traumatic.
Wait. We'll put that question on hold. I got to know what that is. If you don't mind.
Not at all. Because, if my story can help one person, it's totally worth sharing. So, throughout the pregnancy, you have to go visit doctors for checkup and stuff like that. And I was never treated kindly. I was always looked down as that troubled kid, that pregnant teenager, right?
Yeah.
But the incidents that really drove everything home for me was actually the delivery of my son. Mm-hmm. Again, you haven't gone through labor pain.
Nope. Don't plan to either.
You can imagine. I mean, try pulling a doll out of your nose or something.
Stop.
But it hurts. It hurts it hurts.
Yeah, right? I've seen it. I'm not a young guy, and I've got quite a few kids, and I was like,
yes.
Yeah, I almost was celibate for a while there.
Right. I don't even know how women do it over and over again. I have the one child. But I was in severe pain. I was in severe labor pain.
Right.
And they had to catheterize me, and I'm squirming. Part of it because I'm hurting. The other part is modesty. I don't want anybody down there, right? And so I'm squirming and I'm pushing the nurse's hands away and stuff like that. And she looked at me super stern and she said, you sit still or you lay still. A hole is a hole when I can't see it. I'm going to shove it somewhere.
Oh,
whoa.
Yeah. And a part of that is just think, I understand how many people they see, and to them, after a while, they become desensitized and it's a job, but they're dealing with human beings, and that should be taken into consideration. But you've extracted a lot of information and pivoted it around so people can be helped from a lot of your pain. And you did it at a very young age, because you're still young. You're a youngster. Excuse me at that time. So what transpired out of that? How did you get to formulate where you are now with the Helping Teens out of all of that pain that you suffered?
So the decision I made was to get into healthcare. I wanted to provide a safe space for teens to go get reproductive health care, to get mental health care, a place where they can find their voice, where they can get support, where they can learn about themselves and all the things they're going through. So I got my GED and I went to school and I went straight into my master's program. And I graduated when I was 23 with my nurse practitioner and started practicing medicine at 23 years old. And I did general health for the first 2 years just to get, my groundings. And as soon as I felt confident in my general skills, I went straight into adolescent health. And I did that for many, many years, including opening up my own medical clinics for teenagers.
Wow, that's good. What state are you located?
Well, at that time, I was in the state of Washington, and in the state of Washington, nurse practitioners are fully autonomous. So we can function like physicians can. We diagnose, we order lab tests, we treat, we do everything that physicians can, and including having our own medical clinic with no medical oversights.
So is there a coalition or any groups that you were a part of that are promoting this kind of healthcare for young adults and teens?
I'm sure there are. I was not involved in that. I was just really focused on my clinic and on my patients. So I was not really involved in the community. However, about 8 years ago, I stepped away from the medical community completely to do the mindset mentoring, which is very different than prescribing medication.
Wait. How is that? Because that's like being the president of the United States and says, I'm going to go join the NBA. And I'm not saying that they're different. Not that they're bad. I'm just saying that it's a total pivot.
It is. And one of the things I do is I always listen to my intuition, and it's always guided me to the right place. And so one of the things that really pushed me away from the medical community was that I kept seeing my same patients over and over again. I'm seeing teenagers, and I would see them 3 months later, a year later, 3 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later, and they're still on antidepressants. They're still on anti-anxiety. They're still seeing counseling. And for me, it's like, if something works, you shouldn't need to be on it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you should get the help you need, get over that hump, and then take your life back. And I also heard at the same time, patients of mine were saying things like, if I didn't have depression, I could do this and that. Jacqui told me I needed to be on these medication for this time frame. And I started feeling really, really guilty for being a part of the problem. Here I am trying to help. But what I felt like I was doing was giving them a sentence, right?
Yeah.
You have depression. You have to be on medication for this amount of time, maybe for the rest of your life, because that was what I was taught in medical school or nurse practitioner school. And so I started looking for alternative options. And when I first found hypnosis, right?
Say it again.
And NLP and EFT. I was literally rolling my eyes going, whatever. These are for crazy people. These are quackeries, But I was curious. And so I continued looking into it, and I took classes for curiosity. And the whole time I'm sitting in the back of the class thinking, yeah, whatever. But when I had the opportunity to be a practice patient and I experienced it for myself, I was like, I have no idea how that even worked, but I'm feeling so much better. Awesome. And I want more. And the more I researched, the more I learned, the more I fell in love with it. And so that's what caused me to walk away from the medical aspect of my care to help people take control of their mind so that they can take control of their lives.
Now, I understand this. You are Vietnamese, okay? But I'm going to pivot myself in this question. Did you think about studying Chinese medicine and herbal remedies?
No.
That was a quick.
It's a very quick no, because growing up, that was a lot in my family, and it was something that I just never liked. It was forced down my throat multiple times.
I got you. Literally.
Literally, yes. And so that was not an area that I developed any interest in.
Yeah.
But, if tomorrow I wake up and I'm like, you know what? I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I would pursue it.
Yeah. And the reason I ask that is because usually when you get many of the people and my guests that were in the medical profession, they gravitated toward a more natural way of healing, and Chinese or traditional Chinese medicine lends itself to working with the body and working with things of the earth to help heal the body. Because, most of the doctrine says, everything that you need is already here. You don't need to really augment it. You just need to really go find it. And that's why I asked that question.
Well, I think one of the things that, attracted me more to hypnotherapy and the other methods was because it wasn't a substance, right? It's like what you said, whatever you need is already within you. And with mindset mentoring, I can help people dig and pull it out themselves. And instead of having to supplement with, medication or herbs or whatever, they can control a lot of what they're experiencing through controlling their mindset. Now, there's definitely a place for medication. There's definitely a place for, Eastern remedies. I'm not saying there isn't. That's just not my specialty.
I got you. There's a much to do in this world today, particularly in industrialized nations. The visualizations that you are consistently bombarded with on a hourly basis. We are bombarded with violence. We are bombarded with the imagery of human beings that are considered or typecast as perfect, and saying that you don't measure up unless you get on board with what we have, unless you purchase what we have. Do you think that contributes to the mindset of young people as well?
Oh, most definitely. There's always that I'm not enough, right? They look out there, and even as simple as like a Facebook post or an Instagram post, they see these perfect people with perfect lives and everything look absolutely fantastic. But they forget that, for themselves to post a picture of them, they took 50 pictures. And then they edit the heck out of their picture.
Filter.
Exactly. They themselves do that, but they forget when they look at other people. They just like, oh my gosh, perfect hair, perfect skin, perfect this, perfect. No, nobody have that perfect life that they portray on social media.
That's true. That is
true. A single snippet, a second of that whole event. And here you have this person smiling, all wonderful and happy.
Hair is on point.
Hair's on point, right? But you don't know that 5 minutes ago they were in a huge fight with their significant others.
Yeah, that's true.
They're going to go home and they're going to be abused. We have no idea of what really happens, behind those pictures. We see these pictures. We try to measure ourselves against these perfect pictures. These, God, what's the word I'm looking for? These doctored pictures, right?
Yeah, they're very doctored. That is so true and prevalent. And I'll just give it to you. My wife made me look beautiful. She took a picture of me and she was like, hold on, baby. She filter, color change, make your eyes bigger, ta-da-da. I was like, ooh, I am so pretty.
Yes. Like one of my friends, she loved to Photoshop and she had great skills. And she would stretch her body. She's like 5'1" like me. And she would make herself like 5'8". And she would post these pictures of her on Facebook, and I'm like, what in the world are you doing? Yeah. But we do that. I mean, I know I filter my pictures.
That's okay. I mean, we understand that that's part of the diaspora today, but it affects the psyche. And you say this: success and happiness are achievable by any means. I mean, it's within you. So no matter what your circumstances are. So how did you come to be able to communicate that to people who just are staunchly like, look, whatever. I was like, I've been through some things and I am exactly as I am. I'm not going to change.
And if you decided that you're not going to change, you absolutely will not change. What I say is success and happiness are achievable by all, not by any means, by all, regardless of the current struggle. And I guess the key thing is if you are ready to make the change. Because no one can force you to change. There's nothing I can do that magically would make you better. But there are things that I can show you that if you practice them, will create those changes you're looking for.
Awesomeness. Awesomeness. So why did you start a podcast? Because a lot of people start a podcast, but they dabble into it. So, but what was the premise behind it? And what was your mindset to say, I need to do this?
So the whole podcasting thing didn't really enter my world until maybe probably, 6-8 months ago. And, everybody's talking about, well, if you want to be, if you want more clients, you got to get out there, get known and stuff like that. And so I'm like, okay, I want to be guest on people's podcasts. And I went to this summit put on by Steve Osher, an incredible summit for podcasting. And so I'm sitting there, and the whole premise of his workshop thing was that we're going to learn about podcasting. We're going to learn how to present ourselves. We're going to learn how to monetize from our interviews. And then we have the opportunity to pitch to be on 40 podcasters' shows.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, that's a lot of exposure, right?
That is.
And I'm sitting in the audience, and I'm listening to these podcasters talk and why they're doing their podcast and the results they're getting and all of that. And the key thing that I kept noticing with all of the podcasters that was on stage was how incredibly passionate they were on their topic.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I'm like, wait, that's me. I am so passionate about my topic, and I can talk all day long about it. So why do I want to be a guest? Why am I not having my own show? And so I went home and decided I was going to be a podcaster. And I think 2 months later, I launched.
Where are you currently located now if people need your help?
I am in Asheville, North Carolina, but I see all of my clients virtually on Zoom.
That's the best place ever. And I've never been there, but everyone tells me about it. Everyone tells me about it. So are you going to podcast movement?
No, unfortunately, no. There's just so much going on in life right now that I got to focus my attention elsewhere.
I understand.
But I hear you're going to be there and you're speaking, right?
Yes, I am. I'm speaking about pod passion, how to keep the passion.
Great topic.
Yeah, I'm going to fire them up. It's going to be on, as the kids say, on fleek.
There you go.
And my kids are probably listening to this like, Daddy, really?
Rolling their eyes.
Yes, exactly.
Not cool, Dad.
So you're becoming like this media mogul here because you forgot the podcast and you've conquered the audio waves. So previously you did literary work. So what motivated you to become an author?
So that actually came from mindset mentoring. So with all of my clients, I would teach them the same basic things on how their mind works and how to start taking control of their thoughts and feelings. And my clients would be sitting there like scratching notes like crazy, writing everything down. And they would ask me, hey, Jacqui, can you just send me some notes? Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. I've been speaking for an hour. I have no idea what I said. I mean, these are my truth. These are things I've learned and embodied. So I just, speak. And after hearing that request over and over again, I'm like, all right, I'll do a PDF. I'll write a PDF. And I hate writing, by the way. I have 3 books out and I won tons of awards and I still dislike writing.
Is it because your thoughts come faster than your hand can write them?
No, it's because of my language barrier. Being Vietnamese, my grammar is challenged. In my language, we don't pluralize things. So it's 1 banana, 10 banana, 50 banana. There's no S to pluralize.
Yeah.
We don't have tenses. We don't have, gone and went and will go. It's just, I go today, I go tomorrow, I go yesterday.
English is very complex.
It is very complex. And so I spend way too much time over a sentence. And that's just not the best use of my time. But what I discovered with being an author is that I can have the best editing team.
That's what I was about to say. That's what editors are for.
Yes. And so I know the content. I know them well. I can speak them in my sleep. So I write and I write and I write, and then I do the first pass edit, and then my husband does the second and the third, and then we send it out to a professional 4th and 5th, and we're pretty good after that.
That's good. So I know you say you do everything over Zoom, or you meet your remote clients over Zoom. So are you going to be in any workshops, or are you going to have any online webinars, or what podcasts besides the best one ever, which is the Billionaire Lifestyle podcast, are you going to be on? What's in store for you in the future to be in the public eye?
Well, after today's show with you, I'm not doing any more podcasts. You totally ruin it for all podcasters out there.
Oh, joygasm.
Oh, I'm going to steal that word. I like that word.
You've never heard joygasm?
No.
It comes from Ren and Stimpy.
Oh, really?
The cartoon. My kids used to watch it.
Yes. No, I don't watch TV. And that's one thing that you said, earlier. I'll go back to your question in a minute. But you said, we're always bombarded with all these negativities.
Yeah, we are.
And there's always, death and this person is better than you and that person. Not in my world.
So are you a screen-free family?
Not really.
But the focus is not there.
We watch Netflix movies because we enjoy movies.
Yeah.
And my guilty pleasure is silly cat videos.
All right. Here, put your hand up. Give me a high five.
Boom. Meow.
Mine is the cat videos where they're trying to jump and don't quite make it.
Right? So people talk all the time about negativities every time they turn on the internet or TV. I'm like, no, it's cute.
Cat videos, hey, can't help it. They lift your spirit.
Right. So you get that. The one thing that I teach on my clients is that you have control what enters your mind.
Yes, that's
and you
true.
can either surround yourself with all those negativities or you can surround yourself with things you truly like, things that lift you up. If it's kitty videos, great. If it's motivational speakers, great. If it's marathon runners, great. Whatever it is that motivates you, that inspire you to be your best self, that's what you want to surround yourself with.
Yep. So I asked you what made you become an author, but we never talked specifically about the books. So let's start from the book that's the latest one, the most recent one, and work our way backwards.
Sure. The latest one is Unleash Your Inner Superpowers. And in that book, I share 7 inner superpowers that we all have. We're born with these inner superpowers that when you understand them and you can really tap into them and unleash them, you can destroy your fear and self-doubt like this.
Yeah. So that's the latest one, most recent. What's
Yes.
prior to that?
I would, but my damn mind won't let me. I get that reaction quite often, and occasionally I get the, what? Why would you say damn for a teen book?
Because they say it as well. They just hide it better.
That's exactly it. I get parents and maybe even grandparents, I would get upset. Like, I would buy your book except for that one word. I'm like, that one word is going to be the word that's going to cause your teenager to read the book.
All right. That's true. Because it's a little bit of rebellion and it piques their interest.
Right. And the title was actually given to me by my clients. I would ask them about projects or things that they want to do that they tell me that they're super passionate about or motivated about.
Yeah.
And they don't follow through. And I would ask them what prevented them from following through. And they would give me some version of the damn mind.
My damn mind.
Right. And I'm like, perfect title for my book.
That's awesome. So let's go to the first book, the one that pulled everything out of you, the one you said, I can do this. I can do this.
The first book was 5 Simple Questions to Reclaim Your Happiness.
And are these small books? Are they like 1 hour, 2 hour reads?
Progressively bigger.
Of course.
And, a lot of it too, there's definitely more content. As I write more, I discover my voice and I discover my message much more clearly. But a lot of it is I made it into a workbook. So there are spaces for them to self-reflect and to actually apply the content versus reading these great content and go, okay, great, whatever. Yeah. Right? If you apply what you've just learned, you're going to retain the information so much more, and you're going to be much more likely to carry that into your life and use it in the future.
Awesome. So you said you're not doing any more podcasts. Did you lie to me?
I might have stretched the truth.
Okay, that's cool. I can accept that. I can accept that. What's in store for you in the next 12 months?
In the next 12 months, my 4th book, which I will start writing soon, will be out. And it's going to be a #1 best-selling book. And it's going to win multiple awards.
Speak it.
Yes, right? Seriously, if you want it, claim it, own it. You'll make it happen.
Speak it. All right.
And then workshops. I'm doing a lot more workshops. I have so much fun. And one of the things that I discovered more recently since doing the podcast with my husband is that I really enjoy teaching with him.
That's good.
Because we have the same mindset and we have a lot of the same experiences. We can really play off one another and really enhance the teaching. We actually did our very first workshop together this couple days ago, actually, on effective communication. And it was just so much fun, and it was so much more powerful with him there because we, again, play off each other so well that we're figuring out how to move into that space together.
So was this a local workshop or an online workshop?
It was a local workshop. I really enjoy the in-person interactions. I do online stuff, but I much prefer when I do workshops to be in-person, small groups, very hands-on.
I do too. All right. So for this part of the exercise, which we all go through pretty much, I'd say 90% of my guests go through it. You have to close your eyes.
All right.
And Emmett's going to speak to you. So you have to imagine yourself sitting on your couch and you're chilling out and you're about to turn on Netflix. You're alone in your house. Everybody's left. And you're like, I'm chilling. Got my favorite drinky poo next to me. And you're like relaxed. And all of a sudden the doorbell rings and you go, duh. And you get up and you go to the door and there's your 14-year-old you. And she says, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know you do. So what would you tell me to help me to move to where you are smoothly?
You know, it's going to sound incredibly cliche, but you are enough. You are enough exactly as you are. You are a perfect, magical being that's going to make a huge difference in your own lives and in the lives of the people who you come into contact with.
Awesome.
And I'm getting teary because that 14-year-old really needed to hear that message.
And you just told her that.
I know. I'm going to give her a hug too.
There you go. So, thank you so much for being on the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast.
Thank you for having me on. That was a lot of fun.
That's, we're family.
Yes.
That's how I see it. And I just can't help but be myself. Be my authentic me, because sometimes, when we go out into the world, we put on a facade to make other people comfortable because we don't feel that they're going to be totally comfortable with who we are. And this is who I authentically am. I am lighthearted and I'm fun. Sometimes I'm really inappropriate, but I'm fun. I've been told that immature and inappropriate. And I'm like, that's the point, is to pull you out of your comfort zone. As long as I don't hurt you detrimentally or cause you any pain where you cannot come back from it. Sometimes it's to make you think. But, ladies and gentlemen, here's how we end the show. When you get out the shower, you're going to be by yourself. And you're going to be in your bathroom. And in your bathroom is a mirror. Stop. After you get the water off your body, drop the towel and walk over to the mirror. And then I want you to wipe that fog that's off the mirror so that you can clearly see the entity that is staring back at you. And I want you to take, at least 60 seconds or more and just study. Don't say anything, just look. Be in wonder of what you are. You might have mom arms that they call it that flap around. That's fine. You might have man boobs. You might have wrinkles and moles. Your nose may be a little bit crooked. One eyebrow may be higher. But think about this. 2 cells came together from 2 different people. 30 days later, there were 1 billion cells. You are a miracle. And then I want you to understand, as above, so below. Get closer to the mirror, look into those eyeballs, and you will see that on either side of that canal that brings life into your body, there are 2 galaxies. They look exactly like galaxies. They may be different colors, but I want you to appreciate that. And then when you're walking down the street after you've appreciated yourself and you've accepted that you will love yourself, when you see another set of galaxies, treat them like you want to be treated, as the doctrine says. Treat them with love, honor, and respect. Until next time, I love you all. That's real. I just don't trust you all. But peace.